Hey, it's Shane and Chris from the Right Spotters here talking about all things writing. Today, we are going to cover basically where ideas come from. Ideas for social media posts, ideas for articles, even pitch ideas when you're trying to pitch an editor. So, ideas are we can think of them like client leads, right? So we all want more clients, and we all have to figure out how we're going to get more clients into our business. So think of it like how we're going to get more ideas into our writing. So Chris, what are your thoughts on ideas?
I like that client analogy. That makes a lot of sense. That's like it's like the foundation of your business. It's the foundation of your writing. Is you need an idea to write about. Like you need to know what you want to write, what you want to say, basically, before you get into anything else. We're kind of lucky in the fitness field that between exercise and nutrition, there's a lot of ground to cover. And the downside is that it's all been talked about before. Like low carb diets have been talked about, high protein foods have been talked about, best leg exercises have been talked about ad nauseum. Like every trainer has put in their 2 cents. But if you haven't yet, then you need to. So you have a way that you teach your clients specific exercise techniques. You have how you teach how to do dips and how to deadlift. You know what you say and how you explain it. That's what you do in your writing. Like if you're starting a blog, you have a blank slate. You have your space to fill with your opinion on everything. And as you cover everything over time, your little tips and tweaks and your unique voice will make that stuff stand out. I think we said a long time ago in another video, if you go look online and find 5 articles from 5 different coaches saying how to back squat, the basics will be the same, get in the rack and position it and feet and hips and whatever. But each of those 5 coaches will have different points that stand out from each other. They might have a stance cue. They might have a visualization to use to keep your chest up or whatever it is. So you will be covering the same topics as other coaches, but you need to be putting the information out your way. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Now, on a kind of separate topic, because I just finished this book, Stephen King book on writing. So he comes up with the greatest ideas of all time. So I think it's great to reference him. But he talks about there's no idea fairy, right? It's not going to it doesn't come to you in the middle of the night, right? You're not going to be able to access it randomly. He talks about making connections. So basically, that's how I generate most of my article ideas, is basically making connections and keeping my mind open. So a nice little trick that I used to use when I was looking for ideas, I would basically just walk in my gym and look around at all the equipment. And I would just think, well, what would the client need to know about a TRX? Or what are the 5 best resistance band exercises to build your glutes, so to speak? Or why does my client struggle with this? So what I'm trying to say is putting yourself in the correct environment, say a gym, being a trainer, is a great way to generate ideas. Another one I really, really love, and I've banged on about this before, your clients are the best source of ideas there is, right? All you basically have to ask your clients is, what are you struggling with? What's hard this week? And then they might talk about sleep, they might talk about nutrition, they might talk about late night snacking at night. So I think an underrated, and I've talked about this before, an underrated thing that coaches really need to concentrate on is being a problem solver. right? We already know the problem exists. It's no use banging on about a problem, right? Your squat is weak, right? You're having trouble rising from the hole. Well, what can I do about it? Solve that problem. When you become a problem solver in your writing, I mean, ideas just, they come from everywhere.
I think that's great. And again, that comes back to, like we said before, is if you're writing about, if you're writing to give fitness advice, it really helps to be a trainer, to be working with clients, to have that experience to draw from, that real life practical experience, because they'll, like you've said so many times, they feed into each other. You'll be a better writer because you're a trainer, and you're a better trainer because you're writing about training, and it's very yin yang, very zen. And this is like if we're coming up with topics for creating your own content, for your blog, for your social posts, things like that. If you're looking to be published, it depends on the outlet. Some websites will take pitches where you have to say, hey, I want to write about the 8 best biceps exercises. Is that cool? Is that something you guys would want to publish? Other outlets will give you assignments. They'll through networking, they might send you an email and say, hey, do you think you could write about the 5 best resistance band glute exercises? Is that something you could do? Are you qualified enough to do that? And if you've never used a resistance band to train the glutes, like I can't think of too many exercises, like it might not be a good idea to attempt that. If you're straying far out of your lane, if it's very unfamiliar ground and you're not going to know if you're giving good advice or not, maybe don't take the gamble. But if it's something that you have a good grasp on and something you can knock out with high quality, then yes, then it's definitely a good idea to say, yes, I will take that pitch and I will deliver the best freaking resistance band glute article you've had. So, and editors will like that, and then you'll get another gig, and it's more money. It's good for them. It's good for you. So, you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to deliver always.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to the pitches, because that's probably a little bit more applicable here. So, we're going to flog a dead horse here. So, if you're going to pitch a website, an article idea, you better know what their website is about. And knowing what that website is about is reading. Again, reading. Read the website. So when I have pitched in the past to a website, so I look at what articles are out there, and I try and find gaps. Try and find stuff that they haven't talked about, right? So again, when your mind is open and you can see the gaps in what they haven't written about, that is also another great source of ideas as well. Like, they don't have a lot on bicep exercises, or they don't have a lot on how to strengthen your hamstrings or whatever. Just by basically scrolling through the headlines, and that's another great way to generate ideas, not just ideas for you to write about, but pitches to websites.
I think that's definitely a great idea, is to see what gaps you can fill, because they're going to be more likely to say, oh, we do need a front squat article about whatever. Another thing you really need to pay attention about that gets overlooked with pitches, when you're pitching a website, watch your timing. Like right now, today, we're recording this the Friday before Memorial Day weekend. In the last week or two is a bad time to pitch a website. Hey, I can do an article about the Murph Challenge that takes place on Memorial Day. No, it's way too late. Right now, it's 3 days before Memorial Day. If a website's going to have an article, it's written by now. So you don't write timely or time-based articles on short notice. A lot of websites have at least a month lead time. So if you want to do...
Probably more.
I mean, yeah, very likely more. Depends on how well planned they are.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do a summer fat loss article and send a proposal in July because it's done. You're in the midst of it. They're already planning for back to school. You don't, if it's like November-ish, early November, maybe consider doing like a New Year's resolution type of based piece. So watch the calendar and don't try to throw something out on what might not seem like short notice, but just be aware of timeliness and how that will affect the types of pitches you send out or might receive.
I think pitches is such a big subject that probably in the future we will dedicate a video to it. So stay tuned.
Pitches are one avenue to use your ideas. Again, a pitch is just submitting a topic and saying, I want to write about this. If you're doing your own blog or your own social media, you're on your own time frame, and you have, like I said, you have all sorts of space to fill. So you need how to do a push-up. You need how to do a squat, how to deadlift. Your perspective on how to do these exercises or nutrition principles, how to meal prep, how to, why batch cooking is useful, whatever. Yeah. Like your blog and your social is a blank slate. It's essentially free reign to write whatever you want to write about. And that, like we said, comes back to who you're writing to, because if your ideal clientele is, mothers over 40, you might not need how to hit a deadlift 2-rep max. Maybe you do, but, you might want to focus more on time management and effective supersets and things like that you use with your clients, with your target clientele, that those readers will be able to implement. Not stuff that's just grabbing SEO and hoping to get random searches. You always want to be targeted in what you're writing and what you're putting out.
That's true. That's true. You know what? And this is just a little, no, it is not off topic, but just off topic what you were saying. I like to batch content my ideas. So like, I actually basically just sit down at my computer, quiet, and just basically force myself to think about stuff and just put myself in the right environment to generate ideas. And I might come up with a few, I might come up with none. But I think when we're talking about the nitty-gritty of article ideas, besides, looking around your gym and putting yourself in the right environment and asking your clients their struggles about what to write about, basically just accessing what you know in your own brain and putting yourself in the right environment, putting yourself at your computer and saying, hey, I'm going to come up with 5 ideas. Let's go. And usually you'll come up with more. And the great thing about batch content in your ideas, because you'll write them down or you put them in a Word document or whatever, and you come back to it, and then you go, and then you look at them with fresh eyes and go, oh, that's a great idea. Or then, oh, that's a crappy idea. That's been done 1,000 times. But sometimes generating ideas and then putting some space between you and your ideas for a period of time, then going back and looking at it will help. And it's something I've done in the past, particularly for my blog.
I like that idea of knocking out ideas and capturing ideas when you have them, and just sitting down and just putting the work in and just getting the ideas out. Because when you see a list of ideas, then you can, like you said, you sit on them, you marinate on them for a little bit, and then you can come back and attack them and really dive in and blow them up and put in the right on the topic.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say another avenue that I'm more familiar with is you can always scan discussion forums or scan social media. You can do, if you pop onto Threads or Twitter X and do hashtag gym life, hashtag deadlift, like a bunch of stuff will pop up, and usually it's selfies, but sometimes it's legit questions, and pop in there, answer the question, and then use that idea because it's somebody out there asking a specific question that needs help, that needs to be answered. Or scroll, discussion forums, pop on Reddit, pop on whatever else, and see what people are asking, see what people want to know. If just like Shane said, you ask your clients, you can ask these other people too. These are people who are working out. These are people who consume information. So that's another source for topic ideas, article ideas, content ideas.
I think that's great because it provides a spark. And when you provide that spark, and then we go back to that Stephen King on writing, you starting to create connections, and that spark and the connection generates ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, I don't want to seem mumbo jumbo about it because it is kind of mumbo jumbo, but you really just have to be open to it. Right. Because like I said before, there's no idea fairy. It's not going to come up to you middle of the night. Not going to get $1 million idea forcing yourself to think about it in the middle of the night. It's just going to come when you keep your mind open. And by doing what you suggested, by just searching the thread, that provides that spark for you to make that connection to come up with ideas.
I think that's great. That's and that's getting ideas from external sources, from people who are asking questions. That's seeking out the questions, and then you find the answers. Like you said before, you could always kind of self-reflect, and like you said, if you have a home gym, if you walk into your gym and just take a minute and look around and see what inspires you, literally look for inspiration, and see like what pieces of equipment you use the most. Like you said, you use a TRX all the time. So what can I teach people about a TRX? What can I teach people about that? Why do I use EMOM sets? Why do I use a lot of supersets? And everything like you do it, everything with your programming, everything with your specific techniques as a trainer or a nutrition professional. Like we talk a lot about training, but this totally applies to nutrition stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do you recommend 3 meals a day versus 8? What about keto? What about carnivore? What about intermittent fasting? Nutrition might be scarier than training. There's a lot more out there. So whatever your professional focus is in the fitness world, think about the questions you deal with and tackle and address every day, and just put them down on paper, on screen. Same diff.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, right? So we already have the knowledge. You've already got the expertise. Access it, right? Sometimes when we're trying to generate content, generate ideas, we have to come up with something whiz bang, right? What you're talking about is basically you have it already, right? Again, we go back the spark and the connection, right? And that with the knowledge that you already have inside here, you got an endless source of ideas.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So 2 things. So I had a muscle and fitness article come out today with what you were just talking about. It's just like a 15-minute TRX workout, because it's just like, I think a common problem for people who want to get fit or want to maintain fitness is time. And we could bang on about priorities and stop scrolling social media and yada 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 yada. But the fact is, there are people who are really, really time crunched, and really they want to be healthy, they want to exercise, but one, they don't have the energy and they don't have the time, right? So those problems will never change. Will never, ever, ever change in the history of fitness, probably 100 years from now, right? If you can come up with solutions to those 2 problems, you got it made. You'll never, ever, ever run out of ideas. And another thing I like to do is, and I particularly usually do this for my blog, it's like that old term, you need to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, right? To know how they're feeling. That's basically what I do for my blog. I mean, I've had clients who come see me in person go, you talk to me every time you write, because that's how I feel, right? And I think it's not like getting in someone's inside someone's head, so to speak. But when you're around your long-term clients a lot, you already know how they feel about certain things, and that's your ideal client, and that's who you should be targeting, and that's what you should write about. That's another great source of ideas.
It definitely is, and that comes back to knowing your reader base. Like if you train a lot of parents over 40, but you decide for whatever reason to write a lot of rugby training on your blog, that's a mismatch. You're not aligned. So the readers of your blog are getting one side of you, but then your clients only see you in person, and you're not feeding both. You're chasing two rabbits, and they both get away, as the saying goes.
Fat loss, muscle gain.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, chasing two rabbits.
Yeah. So we need to come up with a list of stuff we say all the time. Like, we got to go back, because it comes back to know who you're talking to and what you want to say to them. And like that's it. That's where your articles come from.
And solving their problem.
And you have to solve their. If you're not solving the problem, they're going to read you once and not return, and it's a waste of your energy and a waste of their time. You need to solve problems. You need to deliver good, useful, actionable content, so that they keep coming back and be like, what else can Shane teach me this week? What else can I learn now? See a new article from Shane pop up on Muscle and Fitness, it's a click, just because it's his name, almost regardless of topic.
So, keeps me employed.
So,
Sweet. But I think we just about covered, Chris. What do you think?
I think that was definitely a good start. They said we can dive into specific pitches and things like that, and dig deeper, more layers after. But I think you got the idea of how to get your ideas formed, and then you can let them blossom.
Yeah, I think like you said before, I think we'll turn pitches into a separate video, because I think we got a lot of saying pitch. It's all well and good if you've never done it before. So I think we'll cover that later on down the track.
Cool. Sounds good, sir.
Sweet. So you can find us on The Right Spotters on Instagram, also on Facebook, and also therightspotters@gmail.com. If you have any questions about this video, about generating ideas, or about anything writing, me and Chris are always open to questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, so ask away.
That is true, and that's it. We're good. We'll catch you later. Have a good one.